Hey there guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host Michael, and today we're going to be talking about Antman and the Wasp Quantumania. This video is spoiler free, and if you stick around towards the end, we're going to get into a deep dive discussion on what worked for me and what didn't work for me. And I hate to say it, I don't want to say it, but I'm going to say it anyway. The MCU has lost its magic. And sadly guys, I'm going to do you a service right now. Stay home, save your money. This movie stars Paul Rudd, Evangeline Lilly, Jonathan Majors, Catherine Newton, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Michael Douglas. And this movie is directed by Peyton Reed. He's been around since Ant-Man 1, and he has completed his trilogy. Ant-Man and the Wasp find themselves exploring the quantum realm, interacting with new creatures, and embarking on an adventure that pushes them beyond the limits of what they thought was possible. The best part of the movie by far was Jonathan Majors. He brings his A game. I mean, he's menacing, he's powerful, he's strong, but he also has those nuances and those subtle gestures in his acting that I really appreciate. I loved the way he portrayed Kang the Conqueror. And everybody's asking, is this guy gonna fill Thanos' big purple shoes, or is he gonna be just another MCU villain that falls off and nobody cares about? I'm here to tell you that Kang the Conqueror is off to a really great start, and I'm excited to see Jonathan Majors and all of his appearances moving forward. And I will say the only thing I didn't like was how long it took for the characters to be introduced to Kang the Conqueror. The buildup was very long. It was a little boring in my humble ass opinion. All right. And I just wish we got a little more Kang in the first act of the movie. I found myself shifting around in my seat and I was checking my phone during the movie. I was just like, you know, this movie was good, but it wasn't great. It's going to rank in my lower tier of the MCU movies. I mean, we have about 25 movies to choose from, and I can't really say it's going to be up there with Avengers, Captain America, Winter Soldier, Thor Ragnarok. It's just not there for me. I really like Catherine Newton as Cassie, but I didn't like her intro into the movie, and I'm going to get into my spoiler discussions on why I didn't like her. But towards the middle and the end, she did grow on me. Her and Scott Lang have a great relationship as father and daughter, and I can really see her moving forward as one of the young Avengers, taking on the mantle as the Ant-Man or part of the Ant-Man family, the Ant family, or whatever we're calling them. I also really like the quantum realm that they built. The design was really cool. A lot of people don't know that Peyton Reed directed a lot of the Mandalorian episodes, and you can see some of that Star Wars aesthetic come into this movie. And also one of the writers, Jeff Loveness from Rick and Morty, he brought over his kind of style, and you can see the Rick and Morty and Star Wars kind of fused into this world, and it's really cool to look at. It's also kind of silly, you know, like when Rick and Morty go on an adventure and they go to another planet or something and everything's really nasty and gooey, and you can totally feel the weird alienness, and it was pretty cool. But they did get carried away with the visual effects. You can see that they were clearly standing on a set, or they were using that big giant projector behind them, and it was too much CGI. Nothing felt really real. And of course, the fight scenes were really good. I was super worried that Ant-Man wasn't going to be able to hold his own against Kang. And one of my biggest worries was that Kang was going to overpower Ant-Man, and he was just going to be like a one-trick pony, and he was just going to grow really big and shrink really small. But no, you can totally feel that Ant-Man did have some advantages, and he had some help from the Wasp and Cassie as well. So it made for a great fight scene. Another positive of this movie is I think Disney learned their lesson with Thor: Love and Thunder being just too funny, too silly, and every time they get really serious, they crack a little joke on the side. Even the villains do it. But in this movie, I think they learned their lesson. They don't need to be quippy and funny every time. They can be serious, dig deep, and find out why Kang is the way he is, why Hope's mom doesn't talk about the quantum realm, and why Scott doesn't want Cassie to be involved in this world, in this lifestyle. And of course, Paul Rudd is just the rock star. He is amazing as always. He's one of the most charming, likable guys in the industry. Every movie he does, he's funny. He has such a good comedic timing, and he's subtle with it. He doesn't go overboard. It's very subtle and very likable and funny to watch. Now let's get into the negatives of the movie. Unfortunately, guys, like I said, this movie lacks spirit. It lacks charm. It's not a movie I'm dying to see ever again. Ever again. Scott Lang and the Ant family felt so out of place in this movie. It's so massive and global. The consequences that we're not used to seeing Ant-Man handle some of these things, the repercussions are so big. There's also some plot holes and some character arcs that weren't really fleshed out. Cassie gets locked up. She's following a path that Scott doesn't want her to go down, and they never really resolved that. Like towards the end of the movie, he still hasn't really changed or learned anything. And the other thing is that this movie is called Ant-Man and the Wasp. And sadly, I felt bad for the Wasp fans because she was totally sidelined in this movie. And I just have such an appreciation for Paul Rudd and Michael Douglas, Michelle Pfeiffer. And, you know, this cast is really good, but unfortunately, I just was not loving this movie. And that's why I'm going to give Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania a C+. You blew it! Guys, if you're on a budget, don't go out there and see this movie. Spend all this money, you know, on your popcorn and your Diet Coke and your Skittles. All right, guys, if you haven't seen the movie, I'm about to get into my spoiler discussion of Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, aka the worst Ant-Man movie of the franchise so far. So if you haven't seen it, guys, get out of here and then come back and watch this part. So here we go. 3, 2, 1, let's go. Modok. What an absolute dog shit character. Why did they design him like this? Why did they even go down this path, this direction for Modok? In the comic books, he's menacing, he's ugly, he's terrifying. He is downright dangerous. And they decided to get that other guy from Ant-Man 1 and have like a silly redemption arc for him. I am not a dick. Oh, stupid. That wasn't stupid. How did they figure Modok was finished in post-production? Like, that's what we're going with? It's 2023. We're using that level of CGI. I don't know. It looked stupid to me. The thing I didn't like about Cassie was that she was talking crap to her dad as if he didn't save the universe. She was like, yeah, what do you do? What do you do around here, Dad? Shut the... Honestly, like, why would they even write her like that? I mean, we liked her in the other movies. We liked Cassie as a little girl and growing up to a teenager. So I don't know why they made her this little jerk. I don't know how to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. They made Hope Evangeline Lilly look weird. I don't know why they made her look this way.
Don't do it.
And then right next to her is Michelle Pfeiffer, who's supposed to be her mom. And she looked better than Hope. Like, Michelle Pfeiffer is probably like in her 60s and she looked better than Evangeline Lilly. Like, why would they do that to her? And then, of course, you have Michael Douglas in the movie. They just made him feel like such an old man. I don't know why they made him so frail and crusty looking, and he didn't have much to say. He didn't have much to do. And it just took me out of the movie again. Like, he looks so checked out. And they just wrote him off, and he just did the bare minimum. And there's one scene at the end of the movie where he's summoning all the ants, which is kind of really stupid in my opinion. And he's just walking in like, look what I can contribute. And, you know, Ant-Man's getting his ass handed to him. He's like getting the shit kicked out of him. And yeah, Michael Douglas, his old ass, walk up and act like he saved the day. You had Bill Murray in the movie for what I don't know. I thought he was going to have a bigger role. It's like having a celebrity cameo, you know, in the early 2000s when Paul Giamatti would make an appearance every movie. And it was like, what is this guy doing here? Why was Bill Murray here? It was just so dumb and pointless. They had a little lunch scene where Bill Murray came in and I don't know what he did. It was kind of like the Tron, you know, and Tron where they go seek help and then they get betrayed and then they call like the big boss. That's exactly what Bill Murray did. There's also another character in the movie that could like read minds. He would like light up right here. I have no understanding of what the point that was for. Besides being like another Rick and Morty, like kind of silly thing where he's like, stop thinking that. Stop thinking that. Like you're dirty. Like why? And it went nowhere with that character. But back to Jonathan Majors as Kang the Conqueror. He was great as usual. He's been like a really, really good actor in most of the movies. And I'm just like, so surprised on the way they ended it. One thing I didn't understand or I didn't really like was that version of Kang is supposedly dead. So what are we going to do moving forward? We're going to get introduced to another Kang or several other Kangs and make that part of the story, you know? Or are we going to like, is he still alive and we got to deal with him? I would rather deal with him than get another Kang. And then you have the post-credit scenes. The first post-credit scene was pretty good. You had Kang and all his variants at like this huge stadium, and they had like the top, like 7 of them were hanging out at the top, and you could see one had like a pharaoh thing. Another Kang looked like one of the Sumerian gods. He had like the super thick Babylonian beard thing. Very interesting, but at the same time, when it expanded and it showed more and more Kangs, they just looked more cheap and like, you know, super rushed. I don't want to have another, you know, we kill all the minions and soldiers every big Avengers movie. And the last post-credit scene, in the crowd you see Loki and Owen Wilson looking up at the stage, and you can see the variant of Kang, and there's a crowd watching, and Owen Wilson's like, wow, hey, wow, I got natural feelings, wow. It just kind of ends, and that one was a little more cheap to me. I was expecting Loki to be in this movie 100%. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it for me today. Thank you so much for coming back to the channel. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe, become a member of the MF Army. Don't be afraid, baby. I don't bite hard. And as always, guys, take care of yourself, take care of your family. God bless, and we will see you on the next one.